She was keenly aware of his presence next to her on the narrow path that wound up into the hills, which was just big enough for two people to walk side by side. His arm brushed against hers, and she swallowed the ball of tension in her throat. "So, why don't you tell me a little more about yourself?" "There's not a whole lot to say that you haven't already heard. I'm out of the military and just looking for a place to be." "It seems to me that you could have picked almost anywhere in the world. I don't know why this area stuck out to you so much." To Audra, it was a place she'd known since her earliest memories. It was beautiful, but she'd often had the sense that she was looking for something else. "The mountains definitely do it for me." He looked around, appreciating the wilderness that surrounded them, but Audra had the feeling Flint never let himself get too distracted. "Of course, the more time I spend here, the more reasons I find to stay." The muscles in her neck tensed, and the back of her tongue throbbed. This man had some interesting effects on her, ones she hadn't experienced before. She felt such a pull toward him, and yet she knew she had no reason to trust him. Was it the jacuzzi tub or the fridge full of steaks? "Those don't hurt." Audra made a turn on the trail that would take them further up into the mountains. There was only so far they could go before they'd be on state land, but she would take him as far as she needed to accomplish this mission. It was more difficult than she'd imagined, and now she just wanted to get it over with so she could forget this ruggedly handsome stranger and the way he made her feel. The distance they were putting between themselves and the clubhouse was like a physical presence, reminding her of just how alone they were about to be. "What about you?" Flint asked. His voice was deep and smooth, and it reached straight inside her, even with such simple words. "Why are you here?" "What do you mean? Nate is my brother. Why wouldn't I be here?" She frowned down at her boots as they worked away at the trail. Audra was supposed to be finding out about him, not the other way around. "Sure, but from the sound of the conversation the other night, you just got back into town. Where have you been wandering off to?" Of course, Randy had been asking about where they would stay that night. "You're observant." "One of my specialties." She refrained from asking him what the others were. Too many chances for innuendo. "I don't really want to talk about it." Why should she feel embarrassed about her failed marriage when talking to Flint? He was just some random member of the pack who might be a spy. What did she care if he knew? But he wasn't going to let it go that easily. "Come on, you could have asked anyone to go for a walk with you, if that was what you really wanted. You brought me out here to talk, and it's only fair that you do some of the talking yourself." She paused under the wide branches of a pine, its shade protecting them from the sun. Flint was watching her. His gaze was so intense, burning into her. Even with that casual look on his face, like nothing really mattered, she had the feeling that he wasn't the sort of man who just let things go. Audra cleared her throat. "I was married. Now I'm not." "Really?" It was a statement, not a question, as he took a step closer. His eyes drifted down to take in her jaw, her neck, her hair, and then shot back up to her eyes. "You're telling me some man had you for his own and actually let you go? Willingly?" She backed up as a tingling sensation broke out over the surface of her skin. Audra had underestimated his effect on her. As he drew closer, she noticed just how much taller he was, practically towering over her as his stare continued to burn straight into her soul. She'd only realized how far she'd moved from the path when her back met the rough surface of a tree's trunk. "Easy for you to say when you don't know me." "Fair enough," he admitted, leaning back ever so slightly but still keeping his focus locked on her. "I don't really know you, but I'd certainly like to."